Well, if it's Tuesday,
It is?
it is. This must be the collector's attic. And we're not up in the attic. We're here at the workbench again this week because we're showing you some workbenchy kinds of things. Today, we're looking at this little guy here.
Wow.
It's the Rivarossi GG-1.
A GG-1.
GG-1. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with GG-1s in spite of the fact that I have models of a couple of them. But the first time I ever actually saw one of these, you and I ran into one at the Illinois Railway Museum.
We did.
And I knew they had one there, and suddenly there it was, and you just like,
Wow.
oh,
There it is.
that's bigger than I thought. And I expected it to be big.
Right.
But it's sort of like the big boy of
really
electric locomotives. I mean, it's not the biggest electric ever, but dang.
It's huge.
Dang, they're really huge. Well, there were a lot of them running around on the Pennsylvania Railway, Pennsy, and then Penn Central, which, you know, the mergers and blah, blah, blah. The whole East Coast history of those meant that these guys were around a lot.
Right.
On the East Coast. Super fast, crack passenger service locomotive. Very historic. This one, however, you'll notice is painted blue. Mm-hmm. And the reason that it's painted blue is there was a special train in 1969, the American Railroads Centennial.
Oh, wow.
And a group of people, a company that wanted to do that as a business, do these special trains and excursion trains, put this thing together for the centennial of the driving of the Golden Spike.
Oh, cool.
At Promontory, Utah. And so their goal was to bring the Centennial train from New Jersey around the country and sort of tour the eastern part of the United States and double back on itself. Different locomotives pulling the train in different places, finding their way ultimately to Salt Lake City.
Wow.
And then Ogden on to the actual reenactment of the driving of the Golden Spike on May 10th, 1969, reenacting the one on 1869, and then bring the train back to Salt Lake.
Wow.
The train had, they were selling the tickets for $998, $1,000 back in 1969.
Wow.
So,
a little bit of money. Buy a car for that much.
But one of the passengers was John Wayne, so you got to hang out with John Wayne along with other things. And then when they finally arrived the second time in Salt Lake after the reenactment, they had the premiere of True Grit.
Well, cool.
So that's really cool. So
That
it was quite an event.
Yeah.
In spite of all of that, when you talk to people about it, they go, "What? Yeah, the Centennial train." The what? You know, the blue train, the Centennial. What? Really? There was people for some reason.
They didn't remember.
It didn't get that much attention. The people who did this, though, they got a lot of attention immediately thereafter because they thought that this had been so successful that they wanted to do it again.
Wow.
They immediately launched a second train for the Bicentennial of America, the American Freedom Train. And it did the same sort of thing. It toured all over, this time touring the West Coast as well, being pulled again by 3 different steam locomotives and 1 diesel. This train started off being pulled by this locomotive and some other locomotives. Most of the time it was being pulled by a Berkshire, a steam engine off the New York Central.
Nice.
Which had also been painted blue, and that's next week's Tuesday show.
Oh, boy.
And then a whole bunch of passenger cars, all sorts of different passenger cars that were painted for the same event. And if you look closely, you can see that there's a golden spike on the side, and it says 1969 and 1869 and American Railroads. And all the cars were painted this same way.
That's just cool.
As were the locomotives. There were other locomotives involved that were not repainted. So Union Pacific's contribution to the event was 2 locomotives, most notably number 6900, which was a Centennial class, named Centennial for the Centennial of the Golden Spike, the world's largest diesel engine. Massively powerful. Ed's got one in
Yes.
Cheyenne, so we've seen that. And they fire it up now and then just to
Yeah,
prove that it works.
That it works.
But that one pulled the Centennial train to Salt Lake City, where it turned it over to the steam engine that's there at Cheyenne, 844, which back then was known as 8444.
8444.
And that pulled the train to Ogden, took it back to Salt Lake, where the Centennial took it over again, and then later on picked up again by the Berkshire, and so on and so forth. So it was an amazing trip. Another thing that these guys had done is they had taken two Virginia and Truckee engines and dressed them out to look like the Jupiter and the 119.
Oh, wow.
And at the actual reenactment, a whole bunch of people got behind each engine and shoved them down the track, pilot to pilot,
Oh,
since
my
neither one
goodness.
of them actually ran. And they didn't look that much like the Jupiter and the 119, but reasonably close. Reasonably close.
Reasonably.
I went to see those locomotives and I went, seriously? I mean, the coal load was all held in place with chicken wire and stuff. It was, but it was better. It was better than nothing. It was way better than nothing, and they had to lay a little bit of track up there because there was no track at Promontory Summit.
Yeah.
But that whole thing was so neat and so Mickey Mouse all at the same time that a whole bunch of people said, why isn't there something better up there?
There should be.
And so they built the visitor center. They hired, what's his name, Chad O'Connor, to construct the two steam engines. And those were in place by the Bicentennial. I think those were actually in place 1974 or something. So within a reasonable amount of time, then they had the engines that are there now, the steam engines.
I'm just glad that they got that straightened out, because when I was in school, they told us that it met at Promontory Point. And I'm like,
It says that in books and websites.
And that's the middle of the Great Salt Lake. How did they get that golden spike down through the middle of the Great Salt
Boy,
Lake?
I tell you what, that would have been
straighten
tricky
that out
getting
for
that picture.
people.
Yeah, it's not Promontory Point.
It's Summit.
It's Promontory Summit.
Yes.
Totally different place.
Way different.
Long, long way away.
Right.
But when you think about it, this train, which got not that much notoriety in its day and has been accurately recreated here, pretty accurately recreated by Rivarossi as a limited edition train in 1969, started a whole big thing. When you think of the Freedom Train and just the Freedom Train launched restoration projects for steam locomotives all over the country.
Right.
People saw that and they went, well, let's rescue the locomotive from our park, because
Right.
4449 was pulled out of Oaks Park in Portland, Oregon, and restored slightly, mostly just sort of repaired so that it would run again. And then there were people all over the country going, well, let's get our locomotive running from our park. And a lot of engines have been restored.
They've been
And it all
restored.
starts right here with the American Railroads Centennial train in 1969. And in this case, the Rivarossi models of that.
That's
which
cool.
which were very popular, and so they're all over the place. They're on eBay. You can pick up the GG-1 here for 60, 70 bucks, something like that. Not too much. The passenger cars, oddly enough, this one, as you'll notice, is an observation car. I've got two observation cars, which is really silly because I don't know, what are you supposed to do? But these are so readily available, I just got tempted and bought two in case something happened to one. But after years and years and years of collecting, I now have 6 coaches
Wow.
and 2 observation cars like I need to. And then they don't go for a whole lot of money, but they're going up all the time. This stuff is becoming
It's collectible.
a bit harder and a bit collectible, 1969 being
There was a lot going on back in those days. A lot of
a
excitement.
lot of neat stuff that got started for the Golden Spike Centennial.
Right.
And of course, the big thing going on right now is the 150th
Right.
anniversary of the Golden Spike. 50 years ago, this guy.
Wow.
Wow.
50 years. Oh.
Unbelievable. But Union Pacific, for their contribution this year, is restoring 4014, the big boy.
That's going to be fun.
And that's going to be coming
Cannot
to the
wait.
event along with tens of thousands of people from all over the world.
Right.
At this event, there were 15,000 people on hand for the reenactment. They're expecting 30,000 people this year, and they have no
pitch
idea
our tent.
where they're going to put them because it's out in the middle of nowhere. And my concern is they may be expecting 30,000, but I won't be. I wouldn't be surprised if 50,000 don't show up. I mean, I don't know. There's going to be so many people coming because of the big boy, and in a way that the big boy train is yet another inspiration, going all the way back to the special train that was put together for 1969.
Well, hopefully they've got some plans.
And 8444, now known as 844, will also be on hand. It's coming in with the big boy. So it's all very special and very
exciting.
And if you want to revisit the Centennial train, just go to eBay and you can buy one.
Right.
In HO or N. And even Lionel got into it, and Lionel did a very limited edition three-rail Lionel of the Berkshire.
Oh!
That's painted in the blue Centennial color.
Keep an eye open for that.
Neat stuff.
Yeah.
Neat stuff. Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, pop over to the channel, and if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. Most importantly, it makes you cool. Because the subscribers can all get together here on the channel and hobnob and talk and compare notes and use words like Berkshire and GG-1.
We love it.
Track and stuff like that. Very highly technical expressions.
Promontory Point and Promontory Summit.
Yeah, and you can argue out why that somehow got started as Promontory Point of all things.
Bring your snorkel.
And do check this Friday. We're putting up another Golden Spike show on Friday. We don't do a lot of Friday shows, but we want to show you something neat there too. Anyway, do pop over to the channel and do subscribe so that you will be cool and so that we can prove to Google that people watch the show. And the easy way to do both is to click the famous blue button. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Zoink! Blue button says subscribe, means what it says.
That's right.
Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here probably on Friday.
Yeah.
See you then.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.